Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, in the dead of night, Yuji along with his companions make their way towards the directions of the blue dragon, who's floating above a forest. Communicating with his slimes, he orders all but one to fall back, wanting to test his abilities, especially against a monstrous creature. Searching through his skills, he wonders how strong his dragon's breath skill will be, transferring the spell to the slime, and having the slime fire at the hovering blue dragon. Confirming that the spell landed, when the smoke clears, Yuji is shocked to see that the spell didn't even leave a mark. Checking the status of the dragon, Yuji is confused as he knows the blue dragon is resistant to all spell types, except fire and holy magic. Just then the blue dragon begins storing up energy, firing off several beams that cut through the forest, making their way to Yuji's position. Luckily, Yuji had projected a barrier just in time, noting that the dragon had stopped attacking and had gotten bigger. Looking around, Yuji deduces that the dragon is drawing magical energy from the forest every time it destroys the forest. Knowing that the dragon will grow stronger and stronger with every passing second, Yuji unveils the dagger of Kethis, reasoning that he could channel his dragon's breath spell into the tip of the dagger, hoping that a concentrated attack will do some damage. Ordering his companions to follow after him, Yuji dashes forward, making his way to the dragon's location. As they jump off a cliff to make their way into the forest, Yuji spots the blue dragon charging up a shot, reacting just in time with a barrier, but the dragon's beam begins creeping through Yuji's barrier, but luckily the barrier holds out. Getting closer and closer, the blue dragon once again fires a beam, but this time, Yuji grabs one of his slimes, tossing it at the dragon, and transferring his barrier spell to the slime. Whilst the dragon is occupied with breaking the slime's barrier, Yuji finally makes it beneath the dragon's location, in the sky, calculating that the dragon is about 50 meters in the air. Searching for certain skills, Yuji casts Jump Boost, whilst also creating several platforms, making his way above the dragon. When the dragon attempts to shoot down Yuji, he has one of his slimes fire a projectile to distract it, allowing Yuji to impale the blue dragon's eye with his dagger, only to channel his dragon's breath into the tip of the dagger. As the dagger ruptures the dragon's eye, the impact from the spell sends the dragon flying, making Yuji turn his back. But suddenly, Yuji is hit by the dragon's tail, barely able to erect his barrier, as the dragon is still alive, only missing its one eye. Still alive, Yuji checks his stats, seeing that his magical power is in the negative, and his HP is below half. Just then, the dragon fires its beam at Yuji, prompting him to defend with his barrier, but knowing that his barrier will eventually break, he begins searching for a way to get close to the dragon. Stumbling upon a divine strike spell, Yuji reasons that he will have to take the dragon out of the air, to increase his chances of getting close, so he focuses his energy on keeping up his barrier, long enough for the blue dragon to finish its beam attack. Right on cue, Yuji drops his barrier, casting the divine strike skill, which conjures a beam of light in from the skies, plucking the dragon from the air and temporarily paralyzing it. Calling for his wolf, Yuji rides in close, grabbing a hold of his dagger, stabbing and dragging it across the dragon's neck, all whilst infusing his blade with his dragon's breath spell. With the blue dragon officially dead, Yuji notes how tough the battle was, but nonetheless he begins heading back to the village, leaving behind the dragon's corpse. The next morning, Yuji is called by Rayard, who reports that the skies have surprisingly cleared up, and that Father Stale has found out that someone had slayed the blue dragon. Additionally, Father Stale has left town without a word, which surprises Yuji, but before Yuji can ask further, Rayard leaves, thanking Yuji for his work, hinting at the fact that he knows Yuji was the one that slayed the blue dragon. Grabbing some breakfast, Yuji chats with Tina and Lisa, who are sad that they don't get to see the blue dragon for themselves. Wondering what Yuji will do now, the girls learn that Yuji plans on heading to another town, which makes them suggest he head to the town of Ricardo, a place with lots of delicious foods. As he bids farewell to the girls, he leaves some slimes with them, making his way to this new destination. Passing through a forest, Yuji is suddenly contacted by his dryad friend, telling Yuji that there is an emergency. Immediately rushing to the dryad's location, Yuji asks about the issue, but learns that the death of the blue dragon has caused several types of mushrooms to grow in the forest, which the dryad needs Yuji's help to gather them. Knowing that he's been called to help with something pointless, Yuji realizes that the red mushrooms can be used to restore health points, and the blue mushrooms can be used to help restore a user's mana instantly, back to what it was 10 minutes prior. Calling for his slimes to gather the mushrooms, Yuji asks that the dryad begin making some blue and red potions, but when the dryad begins extracting a liquid from the mushrooms, the dryad realizes that the color of the liquid is not matching the color of the mushroom. Seeing as the mushrooms are too potent with magical energy, the dryad asks for Yuji to fetch some pure water, prompting him to begin distilling some dirty water, where he'll eventually get some clean water. Seeing Yuji so reliable, the dryad thinks back to when they first met, where Yuji had found her unconscious in a tree, in the middle of a desolate forest. Flashing back, Yuji had used one of his slimes to replenish the dryad's magical power, waking her up and learning that the dryad had her magic drained via a mysterious stone. Helping her search for the stone, Yuji had tried to destroy the stone, but instead mysterious monsters began pouring out of the stone. Reacting quickly, Yuji traps the monsters in one of his barriers, casting a fire spell to incinerate all the monsters emerging from the stone. With the stone now destroyed, the dryad is able to give life to the desolate forest, thanking Yuji, as he saved her life. Seeing liquid the dryad had extracted, Yuji is reminded of the red mysterious stones, finding out that the red stones he's been encountering are all infused with Dragon's Grace. Dragon's Grace is the essence of deceased dragons, and is neither considered good or evil, as it really depends on how it's used, but it has the ability to decimate an entire forest. As water finishes distilling, Yuji is given several potions, as thanks for his help. Parting ways with the dryad, Yuji continues to the town of Ricardo, stumbling into a mist that makes it hard to see. Relying on his wolf's sense of smell, Yuji and his companions head in the direction of some humans that the wolf smells, stumbling upon a village in the mist. Walking through town, Yuji notes the abundance of villagers, weirded out when he sees all of them smiling and staring at him. Passing several homes, Yuji is suddenly greeted by the head of the village, asking if he can be of any service. When Yuji reveals that he's passing by, the head of the village offers for Yuji to stay until the mist clears, taking him to a house, and feeding him some food. Noting the weird atmosphere, Yuji refuses to eat the food offered, but on top of that, when he sees all the townspeople spying on them through a window, Yuji reasons that it is best to leave. Before he leaves, he learns the name of the village is Messiah's. As Yuji leaves Messiah's, we cut to the head of the town, speaking to a mysterious person through an orb, stating that they will be extracting the Dragon's Grace from the Delight Cannon tomorrow. Finally seeing a clearing, Yuji exits the mist, but is thrown off, as it's now snowing. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like and comment.